Star Wars has been one of the most iconic franchises for the past 40 years. The reach this franchise has achieved is truly one of the most universal franchises of all time. While I could make multiple videos detailing all of my thoughts on each of the films I'm discussing in this video, with The Last Jedi around the corner, I figure I would count down my worst to best list of the Star Wars films. Keep in mind, where I place these films on my list is purely subjective and to my own sensibilities and critical understandings. Also, when we get to the original trilogy stuff in this video, I am not judging them from the special edition counterparts. I have seen the original cut to those films, and I despise the special editions just like everyone else. You may like a film that I put towards the bottom of the list, and no, I'm not counting the Star Wars Holiday Special. Maybe that will be something for next Star Wars year. So, here we go, from worst to best, the Star Wars franchise. Number 9. The Attack of the Clones. This is probably the most boring of any of the eras of Star Wars put together. This film follows Anakin and Obi-Wan after nearly a decade after the Phantom Menace. An assassination plot against the Queen of Naboo comes to a head when Anakin is charged as her bodyguard, while Obi-Wan and the Jedi Council investigate the clone trooper program on Kamino, leading to Count Dooku, played by Christopher Lee. Along the way, Anakin and Padme grow together and fall in love. While this film has some good shoutouts to the original trilogy in the form of Boba Fett, nothing about this film is truly memorable. The romance is rushed as hell, and the CG, while better than Phantom Menace, still doesn't hold up any way in today's standards. Nothing felt immersive in this film, and I don't really like the film very much. I have nothing much else to talk about it, so I'll give it a D+. Number 8. The Clone Wars movie. Imagine the Clone Wars, but it's a kiddie film that requires Anakin and his Padawan, and fan favorite, Ahsoka Tano, to escort the son of Jabba the Hutt home. This film is annoying. Not only is the son of Jabba the Hutt irritating as a character, but it was a film that was a jump starter to a TV show, which, by the way, is a good show, so check it out. It felt like a Tarzan and Jane situation. The animation is a bit wooden, but then again, the prequel trilogy was a bit wooden, so I guess it kinda evens out. The movie is kinda boring, but it's not entirely forgettable in any way, so I'm gonna give it a C-. Number 7. The Phantom Menace. This is the film that started a wave of fan outrage. Following the success of Jurassic Park CG, ILM and George Lucas developed a plan for a new trilogy for Star Wars, utilizing the technology they used in that movie. The film follows Qui-Gon Jinn, played coolly by Liam Neeson, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Ewan McGregor, as they are trying to make a deal with the Trade Federation. After the plan falls through, they are forced to escape to Tatooine, where they find the most annoying kid in the world. Anakin Skywalker joins them. At the same time, a nefarious plot by Palpatine is put into motion with the help of Darth Maul. The film ignores most of the things that Star Wars was made for: interesting characters, world building, the fact that the Force is just a feeling and not something of biology. Stupid midichlorian bullshit. The CG is garbage and Jar Jar is annoying. It is a weak film in plot and tone, and characters seem uncharismatic. This film gets a D+. Number 6. Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. This film had good intentions. This was the first film to not be wholly part of the Skywalker saga and focused on the rebel side of things without the use of a Force user as a main lead. What seemed like it would be a great team-up film full of action and thrills, and while it did deliver on the action and visuals and thrill, nothing else was memorable. The film centers on Jyn Erso, the daughter of the creator of the Death Star weapon, who is forced to flee when Imperials come to take her and her family away to continue the work on the weapon. Years later, go read the books for more character-centric stuff, she escapes prison and joins the rebellion in a race against time as the Death Star gears up for weapons testing, and they need to get the plans to get to the rebels, without which the rebellion and the entire galaxy will fall into despair. The problems that plague the movie are in story and characters. I couldn't tell you a single thing about these characters, and the story is very rushed in the first act. But what makes me mad about this film is the nature of Disney's own corporate sense. A myriad of reshoots were done, and a lot of the story aspects were relegated to books and comics as if we were interested in the characters in the first time around. Why this film isn't lower on the list is, well, it's done better stuff than the prequel trilogy. I give this film a C-. Number 5. Revenge of the Sith. This is probably the only film to watch out of the original prequel trilogy, even if the trilogy itself is terrible. The film focuses on Anakin and Obi-Wan as they attempt to rescue Palpatine from the clutches of General Grievous, a poorly integrated robot character that is leading the Separatist army. After the rescue, Anakin learns that he and Padme are having kids, something that is forbidden in the Jedi Code. From here, we see the downward spiral of Anakin to the dark side of the Force, leading to a fight of epic proportions, giving birth to the biggest villain of all time. While this film made tons of improvements in the CGI and story, the acting and direction are just about the same as the other films of the trilogy. The story is interesting enough, but it's executed almost very poorly. It is arguably the most watchable of the film in the trilogy, and I give it a C+. Number 4. Return of the Jedi. This is an ending for the ages. The story follows Luke as he attempts to rescue Han Solo from his carbonite prison and Jabba the Hutt. At the same time, the Empire has been up to no good as they are building a second Death Star. More backstory is explained, the final battles ensue, and it makes for an entertaining and ending of one of the best trilogies of all time. Personally, I think this is the weakest of the trilogy. Don't get me wrong, the battles at the second Death Star and the showdown between Luke and Vader is great, but aside from that, we don't get much. Some of the character stuff is inconsistent, and let's not forget that in this film, it is revealed that Leia is Luke's sister, making this scene from Empire Strikes Back a bit more uncomfortable. The final revelation that Luke goes through about the Force is also kinda good. He noticed the mistake his dad took during the fight, and decided he was going to be independent from either the Sith or the Jedi. This is a great resolution that most people don't talk about. But what I find the most troubling is that the first and second acts are really boring. I have nothing against the Slave Leia outfit, just in case you wanted to know. Is it entertaining? Well, sure, if you can get past the stupid Ewoks. I give the film a B-. Number 3. The Force Awakens. In 2015, this little film awakened something, alright. It awakened the forces of fandom and the box office. The story takes place 30 years after Return of the Jedi as we follow Finn, losing confidence in the First Order, and defecting while he escapes with Poe Dameron, an ace pilot for the Resistance. They crash on Jakku, not Tatooine, as we get introduced to Rey, no last name given, a scavenger who is longing for a better life and living off quarter portions. Forces join Rey and Finn together as they escape from the First Order and meet up with obligatory cameos from Han Solo and General Leia. At the same time, the new Sith leader of the First Order, Kylo Ren, is distraught about his faith in the Force and the dark side as he is manipulated by Supreme Leader Snoke. Eventually, it is revealed that the First Order plans on using their planet as a new Death Star, one that can take out not just one planet, but 5 planets. A final battle ensues, and we learn a thing or two about the various characters. As I mentioned before, this film made a ton of money, to the point where it is now the second highest grossing film of all time behind Avatar. Critics and fans enjoyed it just fine, and as for me, I had some issues, but I enjoyed it as a film. Is it a great sequel? No, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have good qualities. Obviously, one of the biggest complaints the film garnered was the fact that the plot is beat for beat of A New Hope. It does feel lazy that they would do that, but the story is a bit more interesting where I want to find out more about how we got to this point in the saga. Is it a safe film? Yes, but there is a reason. If we started this thing by not doing something familiar, then the public wouldn't have the confidence for them to go places that are different. To gain the confidence from fans and audiences, we would need to start with something familiar and go with more experimental stuff. Hence, Rogue One being the experimental stuff. This is fine and all, but if The Last Jedi is a beat-for-beat recreation of Empire Strikes Back, then I'll have some choice words with Lucasfilm. As a film, it has great special effects, the action is well done and engaging, and some of the new characters are interesting. It is well directed, acted, and scripted. From a filmmaking perspective, it hits the right beats of a Star Wars movie. Is it the best movie in the series? No, that is why it is at number 3. I give the film a B. Number 2. A New Hope. The one that started it all. This film follows Princess Leia, who hides the Death Star plans in the foul-mouthed R2-D2. C-3PO and R2-D2 escape from the clutches of the Empire, where they meet Luke, a farm boy who likes to shoot womp rats in his spare time and wants to get power converters. The droids meet with Luke and run into an old man named Ben Kenobi, or Obi-Wan Kenobi. Kenobi tells Luke about the Clone Wars and the Force. After Luke heads home to his house being barbecued and his foster parents dead, he heads with Obi-Wan to meet up with Han Solo and Chewbacca, smugglers who have a good heart. At the same time, the Death Star, a powerful weapon from the Empire, is testing its might against planets. It is a race against time as Luke and his team must help break out Leia from the Empire's grasp, get to the rebellion, and get them up to speed before the Empire has the chance to destroy the galaxy. This is the franchise starter that Hollywood needed. Back in the 1970s, not a lot of people were heading into the theaters. Jaws was the first step in the franchise blockbuster direction, and Star Wars just kind of improved it. It became an event for a generation that you could arguably say was the start of the decline in classic Hollywood storytelling by making merchandise and commercializing the movie rather than just making a good movie first and foremost. But with this movie, that wasn't necessarily the case. When it came to merchandising, that came after the success of the film. Well, regardless of whatever that was, the film is still good. It introduces the characters nicely by following the Joseph Campbell archetypes in a hero's journey while doing some remixing. It is well paced, and the effects for the time are great. The dogfight at the end is truly memorable as the clock is ticking and the tension is heightened. It is arguably the best part of the film for me. The original Star Wars is one of my favorite films of all time, and I'm giving this film an A-. Number 1. The Empire Strikes Back. This was an obvious one, but most can agree with me. The Empire Strikes Back was one of the first sequels ever made for a blockbuster. At the time, sequels weren't as common as they are nowadays, and this was a rare breed. It made more money at the box office than its predecessor, and is considered by a huge majority of fans and critics to be the best of the franchise, and for good reason. The film follows the rebellion after the destruction of the Death Star as they are hiding out on Hoth, as one day the Empire finds them. Luke is visited by the ghost of Obi-Wan and is told to visit a Jedi on Dagobah to continue his training. After the rebel base on Hoth is destroyed, Luke goes to visit Yoda, one of the last living Jedi, and serves to be a mentor for him. At the same time, Han, Leia, C-3PO, and Chewbacca try to evade the Empire and land in Cloud City, where we get introduced to fan favorites Lando Calrissian and Boba Fett. Time moves on, and Luke faces off against Darth Vader, leading to one of the biggest cinematic revelations in movie history. And when the ending happens, it causes the audience to ask questions of where do we go from here. The effect that this movie had on everything was a game changer. Not only were movie sequels profitable, but given the talent and patience in production, sequels could be considered better than the first movie, and even fan favorites. The twist in the third act is still one of the most memorable in history. The fact that today I see reaction videos of people who have never seen Star Wars before freak out over the twist is something to behold. It has good action, the characters are elevated to new heights, new characters are added that are also kinda interesting, and more expansion of the lore is explored. Is it perfect? No, but it gets really close to being a great film. This is by far the best film of the franchise, and I'm giving this film a solid A. So, what is your list from worst to best? There is no judgment here, but there can be discussion. Let me know your favorite Star Wars films in the comments section down below. Next time I'll be reviewing The Last Jedi, directed by Rian Johnson. As always, I'll see you next time, and may the Force be with you.